Okay, so
That's
I wanna talk about tariffs a little bit. That's an old topic, but it felt new to me because I went in today or yesterday to the grocery store to get coffee, and I gotta cut back. I gotta switch to tea or something. I can't afford coffee anymore. What's happening?
Well, you didn't buy it like I did. I went on a buying spree. Every time there was something, my brand of coffee was on sale, I got some. So
You hoard it.
so I have those 32-ounce ones. They're stacked on the bottom of the pantry.
I'm coming to your house.
And I will tell you, not to give a plug for any one business or another, but Trader Joe's actually still has good prices on their
Okay.
unground, like whole bean coffee.
Some
not
stores
cheap,
are
but-
trying to help consumers, that's the way they're gonna keep businesses to hold down prices, but the tariffs are hitting.
Oh, just on the coffee price to give some if somebody hasn't gone out and bought coffee lately, Price Chopper, I would wait for them to have a $6.99 sale on those.
Yeah, the big
On those, I have
pens.
like folders.
Yeah,
And I wait for $6.99. They're up to $16 now, and on sale they'll hit maybe $12.95. So that's a big one.
and that's
coffee's gone
Brazil.
up for other reasons as well.
Yeah, coffee is under there's climate stress and it's affecting crops, but one of the big things is Trump is mad at Brazil because they did to their ex-president what we should have done to ours, which was hold him accountable for an insurrection.
And actually put him on trial.
And found him guilty, convicted him.
Which is what happened, which was what Mitch McConnell said should have happened when he said we're not going to do it by impeachment because he's not in office anymore. But I have no doubt that the justice system's going to take care of this. Yeah, it didn't. And
It didn't in America. Why not? Why is Brazil better than us?
the wheels ground very slowly. He was going to be tried for that. For the insurrection, essentially, in a very
The charges brought against him by the special prosecutor were not like Bolsonaro.
Oh,
That
hard
was,
to understand.
yeah.
I mean, not that they should do things for show when prosecuting a former president, but it was a nuanced prosecution was what they brought.
Are you talking about Brazil or the United
No,
States?
the United States.
Yeah, Brazil just flat out said what you did was wrong. It was an insurrection. You're going on trial, and they convicted them and sentenced him to a lot of years in jail.
And we're putting a lot of pressure on them to turn it around.
Trump brought pressure on. He didn't. So there are 50% tariffs, and my coffee now is unaffordable in the morning. One of the few pleasures in life. Freedom of speech and now coffee. Oh dear.
Sweet vermouth from France is also going up, and that makes it hard to have a cheap Manhattan. But such is the price.
It's true. It's true. So tariffs, overall, they're in effect now, but they are headed. The idea of them and what Trump has done with them is headed to the Supreme Court. And you and I disagree on what will happen once it's there.
So my bottom line on this, I have this working theory, and it's a very optimistic theory, actually.
Which is why I disagree with that.
It's not as optimistic as I'm saying. I think that on ideological issues, that Trump and the Supreme Court are going to get along just fine. So anything that works for conservative ideology, he can get away with. And I think to some degree an expansion of power is also something of executive power is something that the majority of the court is perfectly okay with. But I also think that this is a corporate court that ultimately, and I don't necessarily say that as a criticism, I just say it's an observation, that they are staunch capitalists, they are staunch, they look at this from a business point of view, and if you need any better example of it, before he came on the court, Neil Gorsuch did a decision that said a truck driver who was in danger of freezing to death one night in his truck was that it was okay to fire him for leaving his employer's property, for leaving the truck on a highway so he could go save his own life. No, that wasn't. That was a fire. That was a firing offense, and Gorsuch was fully on board with that. So that's the mentality, I think, on this court. So they're willing to let him get away with going to LA and and taking over cities and doing all this other stuff. But I do think they're going to draw the line at the tariffs, because this is a business issue and it's going to upend. It wasn't the tariffs though that we were talking about. It was actually Lisa Cook that fooling
The Fed,
around.
well, I think they're
fooling around
related,
with
so,
the Fed.
so bring in the Fed now too.
So fooling around with the Fed, gaining control of the Fed, I think is something that even the most pro-Trump people on the court know that's not a good idea. Giving this president control of the Fed is a bad thing to do. So somehow they are going to find a way to say it's not okay for you to fire this person from an independent agency, but it's okay for you to fire other people from other independent agencies as long as this has nothing to do with the economy. They're not going to say it like that, but somehow they're going to figure out how to thread that needle.
So Jay's position, to go over this again, is that the top priority of the court is to preserve a favorable business environment for the United States. And I think that is a high priority for him. I do not think it is their highest. I think that this is a court with many members who have previously to coming on board the Supreme Court been in government offices where they promoted a strong, very powerful, king-like executive. And they have pushed that. We have seen it over and over again. We have seen it with he has the right to bring troops into cities. He has the right to send down his ICE stormtroopers in mass and stop people because they speak Spanish, even if they're full citizens. We have not seen any diminution in his executive power. And on top of that, there is no real evidence that yet, and maybe not for a long time, the tariffs have hurt America. And they're going to point that out. If you could say, oh, as soon as coffee prices went up, the American economy collapsed. Yeah, then I could see them saying, okay, well, we can't have this. But that hasn't happened. So that will work for Trump's favor. And as for the Fed, I don't know how they can slice it, that he can fire the head or have control over other independent agencies and not the Fed, even though it's never been done in our entire U.S. history. A lot of things have never been done in our entire U.S. history that we're doing now, like the government censoring. We never really had that before. Times of war, maybe, for a brief time.
They might look at the original legislation that created the Fed, and they might find, one thing I learned having a lawyer, having two lawyers in the Fed, no, three, having a bunch of lawyers in the family, is that you can make an argument for anything.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll make an argument for what they want to make an argument for. And they may find some very narrow differences in the wording of the legislation that created one independent board versus another independent board or commission or whatever, and say, no, this was how it should be written, and which would be interesting because then it may create a blueprint for Congress, should it ever become Democrat again, to amend some laws and restore the independence of these bodies.
Well, I think if Democrats ever get to control again or have any semblance of power in Congress, shoring up the Fed would be a good idea. But I see this. Trump plays, he doesn't, he's an idiot. But the people around him and with him have learned to play a very long game. And they have seen now that they can get to the Fed, they can get tariffs, they can really get anything. And that's what they're doing.
And the other part of that question is, and I'm sure this is going to weigh in the court's mind on the tariffs, is if this is illegal, unconstitutional, whatever, it's what do? Who gets the refunds? Is this going to be retroactive? And there's already been early discussion of that the consumers aren't going to get the money because ultimately we pay for it, but we're paying for the prices that the companies raised. it's the companies that pay the tariffs ultimately. And
Tom Homan's going to
Yeah.
get it. They're going to put it in a big sack and hand it to him.
everybody has to meet Tom Homan in a restaurant
And
at
get-
the executive branch
Exactly.
Washington. It is an interesting question, how that would be done. And I'm not even the companies themselves don't actually. This actually gets really complex because the companies themselves don't pay the tariffs. The importers, I think, pay the tariffs. So all that money presumably would go back to the importers, or the importers would have to give a refund. I don't know.
Or they
It's
just
a mess.
drop the whole thing and just say the tariffs are
Going forward.
going forward, no tariffs. We'll go back to the old system.
Right.
I don't see it.
So you can create all the damage you want,
Yeah.
Mr. President. And when we eventually get around to making a decision, okay, well, we can't fix the damage you already did. Too
Exactly.
bad. Just don't do
Well,
it again.
he's already learned that. He's done that with abortion. He's done it with immigration. That you now have to bring it a case by case
Mhm.
in every state in order to get injunctive relief. There's no more national injunction. Like, we won't do this anymore. And Republicans used to use that. They did that. That's how birth control pills were, not birth control, abortion pills were stopped. There was one judge, one extreme judge in Texas, and he said, no more, it's banned for now until we look at it further. That doesn't hold anymore.
No, but then they found another judge. But the argument on, I'm trying to remember the case. It was one of the cases that I actually listened to the oral arguments on, just from the Solicitor General. There are a lot of friends of the court and so forth. But it was that one argument on that very issue
Mhm.
of nationwide injunctions, and their feeling, and it's not an outrageous argument, is that what the court needs to deal with is a controversy. And a controversy and a loss, and just a legal disagreement are not the same thing. So one way a controversy is created is by two different courts having a different opinion on the same issue.
And then the Supreme Court has to intervene. Right.
So somehow this disrupts the natural order of things to say, one court can't say, wow, that's really unconstitutional. You can't do it, and you can't do it anywhere in the United States.
Except that things like immigration, it's court after court at the appeals level saying, this is wrong, stop it. This is wrong, stop it. There is no conflict. There is no court saying it's right.
And
So it doesn't get to the Supreme Court. And it will be up to the court to take it and let until they do. Trump is free to bring all these actions.
Yep.
I dislike him so much, but I do admire the way he has used legal tricks and ability to get what he wants.
He's had good lawyers.
He doesn't pay him, but he makes them U.S. attorneys. Yeah.
I was wondering if he's going to stiff the lawyers who wrote this brief that got laughed out of court. But Michael Cohen is if you remember, before he was a good guy. There's a wonderful recording of him, or a transcript of him threatening somebody that if you pursue this against Donald Trump, when he was still just Donald Trump, I'm going to make your life miserable. It was a journalist he was talking to. You're going to regret ever being born.
He uses that tactic all the time. Yeah. Now he has so much power and money to do any of the things he wants.
And he's got lawyers who are willing to do it. Well, we'll see how. Not to come back to that, but today's what?
I touched my microphone. I'm not supposed to touch that. It's okay. All right, good.
Today's headline that he's calling on that he was tweeting out that Pam Bondi has to bring these cases and she has to bring them now.
Yes, I saw that. The cases are against like Adam Schiff.
She could salvage
these are bad people. You have to do something, Attorney General. He's using her like his lieutenant, not the Attorney General for the American people, the Attorney General for him.
And this isn't even calling her into the office or picking up the phone. This is in front of the American people, saying this is my weapon, and you're going to be it.
It makes us look bad that you haven't gotten these bad people into court yet. That's what he's saying.
It makes him look like he actually believes he's right.
He does.
When he said, well, in my opinion, that's illegal. In my opinion, I'm like,
Who are you?
In your opinion, it's illegal. Okay.
Okay, I want to totally switch topics. Okay, can I do that? We're gonna leave America for a minute. Go to Israel and Gaza, and the UN came out with a report, an investigation, and said, "Oh hell yes, this is genocide." Does that make a difference?
You know, I was on a radio show the other day, and I was on a bit of a rant about this. That every step of the way, we heard one thing or another. Gaza's, in danger of famine. Gaza's on the verge of famine. Some places in Gaza are suffering from what looks to be a famine. Oh, okay, we got a famine on our hands. Some of these things could be war crimes. Maybe there are some. Maybe this is a war crime. Maybe that's a war crime. Oh well, maybe war crimes are going on in this city. Israel's got war crimes going on. And now it might be. It's kind of like genocide, or it's looking like genocide, and now it is. And it's like we're being desensitized every step of the way to this is just another announcement. And unfortunately, what is the pressure to be accountable, starting with the United States, because we're obviously the enabler here.
Yes.
Our government has no incentive. It's a government run by popularity and polls, only the polls that are on, that show that there is some sustaining support here for the president. And people are going to say this is just the UN, and that's a long-running, what's the word? Shibboleth? I think it's I don't know the.
It's a good word.
This is the long-running villain of the right, that we should be out of the UN. We should be out, and the UN shouldn't exist anymore. And now, this is a bit of an aside, but the UN and its status as its physical location in New York City is even becoming an issue, that we're not going to allow Palestinian representatives to come into New York City without being arrested. And there was a second thing on that front, and it is an abandonment of, there is no objective or even good anymore. Subjective good. It's just whatever Donald Trump says on any day, on any given day, and whatever riles the mob is all that matters. And they have dug in on this idea that criticism of Israel is equivalent to anti-Semitism.
This topic ties in to freedom of speech. You can't talk ill of Charlie Kirk, or you risk job loss or worse. And you cannot say that Palestinians are being slaughtered mercilessly in a genocide, because that makes you anti-terror, it makes you pro-terrorist and anti-Israel, and they're our ally. So we will get you that. We'll deport you if you're a foreign national. They're still trying to get Garcia out, to send him to Uganda or some damn place. Somebody was just telling us in the audience, maybe you can, Stephanie, was that you?
No,
That the UK today, while we were on our way here, recognized Palestine. That's kind of a middle finger to Donald Trump, isn't it? That's it. They're getting a number of countries are now recognizing Palestine, which we have never done.
Meanwhile, there's a reality on the ground. How long can people endure this while the world argues about this?
Exactly.
And while we get around to making
Go ahead.
The headline is UK, Canada, and Australia announce formal recognition of Palestine.
Yeah. So Donald Trump is losing the argument among his leadership, matches, but
Then they say a wave of Israel's allies to follow. As I said, I have read the article.
wow.
Australia was part of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's significant. I mean, the part of, yeah, it's not maybe a shock, but it is a bit of a surprise. Because I think Australia has been trying to straddle that fence between what's right and what the world community recognizes, most of the world community recognizes as right, and not wanting to get too far afield from wherever Britain is on something. But here we are. Britain went along too.
so let us review what the US is doing in Gaza. We're supporting with bombs and arms and money the Israeli Defense Forces that are attacking. We are refusing to let Palestinian refugees into the United States. We're refusing even to let in Palestinian negotiators and diplomats who might work in the UN towards a solution into the United States. We are attacking people on campus who are allowed to attack, like foreign-born nationals, who speak in favor of Palestine. And we're trying to say Israel is a good guy, and so are we.
We're also branding them all anti-Semitic as well.
Oh yeah. If you're pro-Gazans, if you're thinking maybe those children shouldn't be starving, that's kind of a bad thing. If you're thinking that, that means you're pro-terrorist, you're anti-Semitic. Yeah.
And as I rant a lot, but as I said, not entirely calmly to my daughter, we were just talking about this while we were cooking together, that if people in the United States who want to suggest that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic would just read the Israeli press, they would know that it's not.
Right.
There is a robust conversation going on there that is probably more robust in the sense that Israelis understand this is part of what we do. Where
Yeah.
it's you put two Jews in a room and you'll have three different opinions. Or three rabbis anyway, two rabbis. But this is the freedom of speech is probably more alive and well, and the combativeness of the press when it comes to dealing with government officials is much stronger in Israel as well. There's a lot less deference. I don't want to say respect, but there's definitely less deference. And when American politicians end up dealing with Israeli journalists, I think they're surprised at how aggressive they can be.
Yeah, I mean that's an American idea that there's only two positions.
Yeah.
Pro-Arab or Israeli. No, there's many positions in between, and some of the strongest fighters for Gaza are Jewish groups or Jewish organizations.
But we paint this as an existential argument.
We do.
It's black and white, and that's it. Either you support Israel or you don't. And it's not about that. It's supporting a policy by a government to do what it's doing. And why do we keep arguing?
It is possible to believe both that Israel has a right to this, and you shouldn't starve and bomb people in Gaza. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, but you would not know that from. And I don't think the press in America is doing a great job on that either.
No, because they don't want to get their readers too angry either.
We do a terrible job on covering wars anyway. I remember the Bosnian War. Christiane Amanpour became famous covering that war, and the way she did it by saying, okay, we have good guys and bad guys, and the good guys are the Croats or the Muslims, and the bad guys are the Serbs. And yeah, that's true. Like in Sarajevo, that was one battle in the war, right? You have experience, Hollywood. Yeah. We do a terrible job covering wars, and the other thing we'll say is, oh, these people just can't get along. They've been at this for decades. Never solved the problem. No, this is not a religious war. It is a war about control and territory. And it's spreading into Lebanon now because it's connected to Palestinians on the left bank. Is a problem connected to Palestinians in Gaza. They're both in the way of Israel.
I forgot that. And if you listen to the arguments, it does become, people try to draw you into it being a religious war always. And there are religious issues going on, that ultimately, you might even have a two-state solution. They could never, a lot of people who were having, who I listened to on that issue, they would always punt on when it came to Jerusalem and how to settle that. I mean, why not have a Vatican-like not a Vatican-like, but why not have an international city of some kind?
Well, Trump took care of it in his first term. You don't even have to talk about that
Don't even need to
anymore.
talk.
It's just like, we're doing it. Yeah.
And, just to add to everything else that you listed that we are doing, we are also creating a narrative. We've also created a narrative here that this is prime real estate.
Oh, yeah.
We could do a development here.
We had great vacation
That's
homes.
gross.
It's really gross. So gross.
And I'm sure that if you looked at how much money it would cost to develop Gaza into a, long resort strip, you could probably rebuild the housing, you could rebuild the infrastructure, you could rebuild the businesses, you could help.
Yeah.
In a humane way, but they're not going to do that. It's not the way Trump thinks, not the way a lot of Americans think, unfortunately. I mean, this is a country that has been, saying that the little pittance, it's not pittance in dollars, but it's a pittance in terms of what this country, the wealth of this country, that we have done in terms of soft diplomacy through foreign aid. Somehow this was robbing the average American family of their next car or something. And so we've been cutting back on that. We're certainly not going to be generous about this. And that's too bad.
No, I think.
I don't know that
Were you going to say something?
I don't know that we'll ever fix the damage, if it's even fixable. I don't know that we can ever fix the damage, even if we did do something humane at this point and had a 180 turnaround.
And I don't see that happening. I don't. I think it's lost.
Yeah.
And we haven't even begun talking about Ukraine, where we can say some of the same things, where Trump is totally turning his back on Ukraine. And is just saying, yeah, let's give Russia what they want.
Did I tell you I have an order with the Ukrainian company?
What kind of order?
Weirdest thing. This is just an aside. It's weird, and I think I've been thinking about writing my next column this month about it. I do a form of art, Zen archery. So it's very specialized. You use the big bow, really tall bows, and it's very slow and methodical and formal and all that. And the arrows are hard to find. You have to get them from Japan usually. I have one person in the United States who I can get them from. Anyway, I was about to order these ridiculously expensive arrows, and I said, no, do not do that. Your wife is going to see the credit card bill. So I did a search, and it turns out there is a company that makes these arrows that usually sell for about $60 each. Sells a set of 6 for $56, $9. It was like $9.50 an arrow, and they're custom made. They're bamboo. They are Kyudo arrows made for this particular sport, and the company's in Ukraine. So I felt so weird putting in this order with a company in a country that's in the middle of a war. And this is just as the drone attacks were heating up over Poland. And I'm like, hi, I'd like a set of 6 arrows. And Katerina, or similar spelling to that, wrote back to me, and she said, fill in. Here's a link to the form you fill in for all the specifications you want. And I'm like, thank you very much, and please take care. And so we have been back and forth, and then I didn't hear from them for a few weeks, and I just sent them a note, and I'm like, I felt weird. I mean, for all I know, their factory was bombed. And I said, is there any problem with my order? I just haven't heard from you. And she wrote back and said, no, everything's fine. It just takes time to make these. It'll be about 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll keep you posted.
So businesses, at least at some level, continuing it. It
is surreal to be doing this. And yet it's gratifying because, it's nice to know that in the middle of all this chaos, that I can have a conversation with somebody else, and we can both. And they on their company website, they keep a news feed going of what's going on.
What's going on?
It's so cool. It's just as far as I can tell, it's a mom and pop thing, because she didn't say the more corporate way of putting it would be your arrows are being made right now. It's I'm just going to say Alexei said there's no problem with your order, and he is making your arrows as I write to you, and it's like, oh,
that's hilarious.
It'd be wonderful when they come. I can't imagine what the tariffs could be.
You'll have to bring them in and show us.
I will.
Shoot an arrow across the room or something.
question.
question.
You might not get to.
Yes, go ahead.
We're kind of facing a shutdown of the government,
Yeah, we want to talk.
and it's coming up. And I know I read a long letter from Bernie about voting it down so that it will close, because that way we can negotiate and say, you won't get my vote for this to keep it open unless you eliminate the cuts to
Right.
Medicaid and do this and this and this.
Healthcare.
What do you think about that strategy?
I think it's great. I'm totally in support of it. I think Chuck Schumer is going to scuttle it. There's a story out today. He was on the Sunday morning shows
Oh,
and refused to say that he would never go along with the Republicans. And you'll remember the last time we were in this situation, Chuck Schumer was the one who said, no, if we shut down, it'll be even worse. And he made a deal with and brought along enough Democratic votes with him to keep the government open, and the Republicans got what they want. But there's been a lot of really terrific analysis saying that, maybe Chuck was right the last time. We disagreed with it, but maybe he was right. He had a point that Trump was looking for an excuse. If he had a shutdown, there'd be no congressional control at all, and you could go ahead and do massive changes, put troops into lots of cities and other things that he was looking at the time. But we're not in the same place anymore. Trump is doing whatever he wants. He's running roughshod. We have the passage of I hate the name, big beautiful bill that's cut back on healthcare, that's cut back on a whole lot of things that Democrats care about. That's already happened. So there's no point now in playing nice with them. That we should just say, as you began your comments, shut it down. And really, I hate the way governments are. What would happen? We'd have RFK would not shut down access to any more vaccines for. That'd be all right. We'd get him out of his Pam Bondi wouldn't indict any more innocent people. Shut it down.
You think Schumer's going to do that though? Or
I
is
don't
he going to
trust-
say, if you think it's bad now, it's even going to get worse?
Oh, he is going to say that. And I think Chuck Schumer, I wonder if he has the influence now to do what he did last time. He dragged, Dick Durbin and Kirsten Gillibrand and other people. They went along with him unhappily. At the time, they all said, Chuck made us do this. Will they go along with him this time? I think he's a big weenie, and he will. I will not vote for Chuck Schumer again. Yeah, he has been to me, very disappointing.
How much worse could things be?
Yeah,
You know,
he is not an astute majority leader. And I keep thinking of Mitch McConnell, who was more powerful, more influential as a minority leader than Schumer was and is as a majority leader. So
Yeah, I don't hold out a lot of hope, even though there is such blowback on the Democratic Party, and it's very hard for them to overcome it. There's a few people who I think have emerged as quasi heroes and all this, but very few, and it doesn't adhere to the rest of the party.
right.
They don't look like champions when they do stuff like that. So maybe enough of them will say, no, Chuck, we're not going along.
I wonder if Chuck Schumer is going to not run again. He's one of these principled guys who's going to say, I did the best for the country, even though I was unpopular for the, and he won't run again. I can see that happening. But the others that he brought along, what will they? Dick Durbin's not running again. Maybe he'll take a stronger stand. Kirsten Gillibrand is running again and probably got a lot of flack from what she took the last time. And as for heroes, yeah, there are none. Hakeem Jeffries in the House, very big disappointment. He's a great speaker, but as for action, I'm not seeing it. And I'm very disappointed in the Senate. I thought that they would hold the line. The way that Republicans, when Mitch McConnell was the minority leader, held the line. Democrats had to fight for every advance. Trump just seems to be sailing through. He's getting everything he wants. Am I wrong? Please point it out. I'm definitely not. I'm partisan on this. I don't like these people, but I'm not seeing a lot of hopeful action in the Senate.
And they are better at the narratives. I mean, we would not have had the nuclear option we had this past week or two, where they just took all the federal judges. We had called for this 2 years ago under Well, it was under Biden. No, there was it was just no to every judge that Biden wanted to appoint. And I think they were doing the same thing during the Obama years. And we've been calling for, you can't keep abusing the filibuster this way. And you can't keep abusing the blue slip laws this way. And yet, we saw during Trump 1 that, some value to it. It's the one place where the minority has an ability to take
Has
a
a
stand.
hand, yeah.
And the Republicans just said, you know what, we're tired of waiting on all the judges, and taking over the federal judiciary that's a big prize.
It is.
And they're just not going to stand for it. So they said that's a nuclear option time. And they did it. And
Here's
they're
what I'm
on the
sick of
ripple.
hearing about from Democrats, and that includes at the colony town level where I live and the state and national level. It's, oh, we need more money. Oh, send us more money. Things are horrible. We needed $5 here. I'm not sending any more money. You show me some action, then I'm going to send you some money. And number two is, oh, we have no power. We're weak. You have to vote us more people into office before we can do anything. The Republicans never said that. They never said that. They just worked methodically, starting at the school board level over dozens of years to get where they are. And I'm not seeing anybody do that. And here's the third thing. We said, oh, young people are going to say it, so we have to listen. We need new blood. AOC and David Hogg, who are young, and Pete Buttigieg, okay, here's the third one. Young, great ideas, smart people, inspirational. And every one of them has been put down. Kamala Harris's new book said, "Yeah, I really wanted Buttigieg for my VP, but it was just too risky. I couldn't do it." So she puts in Tim Walz, who is completely, in my mind, ineffective. Except he would have said yes, boss to her, where Shapiro or any of the other, stronger male candidates might have said, "No, I'd be a better president than you." She took the easy way out. Democrats have been, I'm sorry, I think the Republicans are evil, but the Democrats are just incompetent.
I think they over worry the optics. But I mean, which has always been a liability in politics. And we're seeing, I don't think that Trump doesn't worry about the optics. I think now he just doesn't. He has now decided he can just dictate whatever the optics.
And he can.
And he's got millions of people that are willing to say, "Tell us how to see this, and we will see it that way."
What about Gavin Newsom? What do you think of him?
I want to like him, but there are like stumbling blocks. One is Kimberly Guilfoyle, who is now the ambassador to Greece. Try to get your head around that. Used to be his girlfriend. And one of his first guests on a podcast he put together was Charlie Kirk. And he was, "Oh, Charlie, oh, wonderful, you're wonderful." No, I have some problems with him. I also don't think that he's going to win over people in any but the most liberal of states. I don't think he's a winner.
So who do we get behind?
There's a question. Who are you behind?
Well, I like Gavin, I love Peter Buttigieg. I mean, I think he's one of the smartest people in our country. And I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, I don't know if we're ready for a gay president." Oh, yeah, I mean,
He's not trans, we could say. He's not trans, at least.
I mean, like half of the kids in high school are gay now. So, it's like now that it's becoming
It's trending.
or it's accepted, and it's not like the young people don't think twice about it. They don't care.
Right.
So I don't think a gay candidate is an issue. Is really where I'm going with that. It's just like,
I don't know, Amy Klobuchar, what happened to her? Gretchen Whitmer, what happened to her? I don't think anybody wants to take on Trump. He's bruising.
But he's not going
He
to.
can't.
He's not going to run again.
He's not going to run again. I don't think he's going to.
We'll be back here at a future salon, and and I'm going to remind you of this day.
I don't think he'll last the 4 years. So it's
I don't
so I
think-
think who's going to run against JD Vance, and I don't think JD
Oh.
Vance has the cult following the
He
way
doesn't.
Trump does. So, or unless they get rid of him and put in who? I mean, I don't think anyone has that.
That's my favorite political figure right now, by the way, is Usha Vance. This is a brilliant woman. She is an immigrant. She is way more talented than he is. And she has now quit her job and is kowtowing to this really ugly little man. He says awful things, and he's not very adept. How does she do that? Wow, love is strange, eh?
Well, the way everybody does. Ted Cruz,
Oh,
Marco
yeah.
Rubio. I mean, I just look at those two every day and say to myself, how do you have such a little, what goes through their mind? I just wonder.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people like to dwell on photos of Marco Rubio in particular, just looking off into space like, oh,
He
this
had
should be
signed a
me.
deal with the devil. He
Yeah.
really has. Yeah. Although Mike Pence is another one who really interests me. He was left. He was painted as a monster by Trump and really left to die. His life was in danger on January 6th. His family's life was in danger. And his criticism is mild at best.
I caught a clip of him just recently. He is as vociferous about the narrative about the violence on the left and the evil on the left
Yeah.
as any of them. There's no real moderation coming out of him.
It might take a celebrity and forget about politicians, but it might take an Oprah Winfrey or Jimmy Fallon or like someone
To run?
to run, yeah. To someone who's
That worked out so well with Ronald Reagan.
he won.
Wow. But we can't do worse than Trump. I sort of like presidents who have years of experience.
Oh, kind of, yeah, but I mean,
In time in various, political roles at a lower level. Let's go back to that. What's wrong with experience? And
maybe you should run.
I'm too old. I'm too old. Loud, opinionated women will never be president during my lifetime, I think. What else do you want to talk about?
I would not mind going back in time to 2016 and reconsidering Bernie.
I will never forgive him.
Yeah. Well, I'd never forgive it. I'm not sure I forgive myself. We came that close. It was a fascinating editorial board
He
meeting.
might have won.
And there are some people that feel that way. And at the time we were adamant, most of the board felt it's just he didn't stand that chance.
I
But
was fully behind Hillary, but now I think Bernie could have won.
yeah,
Why? Why do you think that? Nothing has changed.
Because people who were behind Hillary wouldn't have said, I'm not going to vote for Bernie because it should be Hillary.
Oh, that's true. Bernie bros who just sat out the race.
Yeah, the Bernie bots who just didn't vote.
Wow. That's a horrible way to win. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I won't forgive him, that he hurt her so much. Well, so did James Clinton. There's a lot of blame, but he hurt her terribly.
But we're all talking about this midterm election like it's going to be normal. And
Yeah,
that it's first going to happen.
I agree.
And secondly, if it does happen, I can see the ICE people crowding into every voting booth, voting area, and intimidating
And
people.
intimidating.
I mean, that's what happened in Germany. Why would it not happen here? He's got the manpower to do it. He seems to have total control over them.
It's true. Two things I want to bring up. First is October 18th is going to be the second No King's Day. Please get involved. The aim is to double the huge numbers that turned out for King's Day. And the plans are not even finalized. And I was critical of organizers, like, why are the plans finalized? We should have something every month. There should be, routine. But insurance companies are backing down on giving coverage. Municipalities are backing down on giving permits. It's getting harder to protest. There's another First Amendment right that's in danger. So please get involved in October 18th. And I wanted to tell you about two people who came into my class at UAlbany. I teach a class on global perspectives on the news, and the emphasis is on globalization and immigration. And I brought in two people from RISE. That's a refugee immigrant support services group out of Albany. Started as a church group, and now it's a nonprofit. And it was the two head people came, and they talked to a class of 32 people from all over the world. I have students from Sudan, from Yemen, from Bengal, from India, all over the world. And many of their parents or grandparents, or they are themselves immigrants. And he began crying at one point as he was talking about the incredible cruelty of Trump's administration right now. And I did not notice. Do you know that when he made English the official language, that meant all the forms in immigration and homeland security are now only in English. Hardly anybody who needs those agencies who need to fill out the forms speak only English. You now have to pay for applying for asylum. It's costly to apply. You have no right in immigration court to a lawyer. You have no right to a translator. You have to bring one yourself, pay for it. It is a huge process to go through to fill out these forms and to go through the process. And they have made it more and more difficult, and that is totally on purpose. And they're talking about it. He just sort of teared up as he was doing it. I have all these like little college kids who are like shocked that a grown up has got tears in his eyes. Yeah. So it made me go ahead.
So where are the permits being denied? That's a good story.
It is. Well, they in Albany.
Not a happy story. It's
Not a happy story. Yeah. That part of it is the organizers are adamant that they don't want to have these massive demonstrations in the same place over and over again. But No Kings won. It was on Wolf Road. Some of you may have been part of that in Colony, and 10,000 people were there. Well, that's a kind of a burden on all the merchants all along that way. The parking lots are filled with people who are not going to their stores and spending money. So they want to move the places around. But there's Central Avenue, there's Albany Shaker Road, there's Western Avenue, which they're looking at. So they're having trouble getting permits there. There was, when they had the make good trouble, that was the demonstration a couple months ago after No Kings. They wanted it to be in Albany. There was trouble getting permits then as well. And there was also difficulty coordinating between Black groups and Indivisible. And that's another thing. The president is going after these leftist groups that preach violence, and Indivisible is one of them. So I'm a domestic terrorist now in the eyes of the president. I'm definitely going to lose my job.
Absolutely, when I look at you, Rosemary.
Yeah. So insurance and permits and getting groups that have divergent interests and fears, like if you're a member of a group that's predominantly Black, you are going to be worried about demonstrating in Albany.
So to get the permit, you need insurance. You have to show an insurance partner or something.
Exactly. That is a good story. Oh, good. You're welcome.
Well, I will pass that.
Pass it on, please do. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm totally changing the subject. I just want to know.
That's allowed. It's a salon.
You're not going to come and get me? Okay.
Are we going to talk about a celebrity? You want to talk about the Kardashians?
No, thank you. I don't even know who they really are. No, I want to talk about that. Trump said something, I don't know exactly what, about making sure that transgender people don't have guns. And well, I don't, I'm not pro gun. But the only way I can see that happening is having a registry of people who are transgender. And I'm just wondering what you guys think about that.
Well, they would they would do what people do with it. Would be like the intravenous. It would be like the drug use question on a pistol permit or on a gun permit, or a gun. Yeah, on your background check form, that you'd be on your honor to answer it truthfully, but as we saw with Hunter Biden, it can come back to haunt you if you lie. So I mean, it's just one more fear that's being put. But can they put that on there?
But what's the truth? What's the male or female? Whose truth?
Are you transgender?
There's only men and women. You're not listening to our president. He told us that in an executive order the first week.
Right.
There are only men and women.
Okay, so if there are only men and women on the form, so whose truth do I have to put if I'm transgender? So you have to lie and say you're a man if you're a woman, if you're a transgender woman.
They're asking you what your gender,
what you were born with, and
what your gender at birth was. That's in the executive
So then
order.
the question is, I mean, it's ridiculous.
I think it's persecution on an order with Nazi Germany.
That's what I'm thinking, is they would somehow go to doctors, and who are you giving hormones to, and you have to report that, and I'm thinking it's more like Nazi Germany.
They don't even do that. You've heard J.D. Vance's vigilantism. I would report, hey, my neighbor, not really a woman at all. The First Lady of France, not a woman. I mean, come on, we got a big major, Candace Owen, a Charlie Kirk fan. Part of it, she appears in Turned, and she appeared at UAlbany as part of a Turning Point program. And she has now on podcasts and repeatedly said, to the tune of a defamation suit from the president of France, that the First Lady was born a man and they're lying about her gender. What is the incredible fascination with and focus on transgender, even if you are abhorrent, you just think it's terrible. There's so few of them. Why are you even bothering? Why are we wasting our time on this? And that's why the conspiracy theory that I would give rise to is, did Tyler Robinson, the suspect in the Kirk assassination, really have a roommate who was transitioning, and that played a part in it? I'm tired of the hate. That's what he said about Charlie Kirk, with that hate towards transgender. Charlie Kirk was not kind to transgender people. Come on, they have enough trouble. They do not need the Trump administration going after them. It's appalling.
I'm not condoning. I don't know why I would have to preface it by saying,
I know.
but the closer it gets to you, the more you feel it personally. I think the angrier you get, and the more you want to lash out.
So you think that Tyler could have been a motive?
I think it could have been just the feeling that this is creeping into my life now. This isn't just an argument I'm having with people online. This is something that somebody close to me is experiencing, and it just makes you that much more angry. Yeah, I think the more personal it becomes, the more personal you take it.
I like that theory better than that he was a gamer and spending all this time on the dark web and
Well, probably, yeah.
scratching memes onto his bullets. Who does that?
I think we are getting a lot of people are getting saturated in anger, and social media is made to. I mean, we know this, that the algorithms are built to do exactly that, to keep that chemical firing in our brain constantly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I noticed it occasionally. I noticed it when I was down in DC, because I had a lot of downtime waiting to solve this problem to get home. And why am I on my phone so much? What is going on with that? And I realized I'm just waiting for something. I'm waiting for the next thing that's going to be really interesting to read. But it's not just that it's interesting to read, because there's plenty of it. I had a Mark Twain book in my backpack. I had 2 books that my son had given me, any of which would have been fine stuff to read. But there's something about this anger,
It's addictive. Yeah.
this constant outrage that fires you up, and then you take that, you saturate someone in that, and then you attack them, or attack somebody that he is close to, and they feel persecuted, and one thing after another cascades. And if you have any kind of mental imbalance to begin with, bada boom, bada bing.
Yeah.
This
And Trump is a master at that, firing up people. Yeah. He gets up at midnight and sends out tweets that as soon as you wake up and that you reach for your phone, that's the first thing you're going to say. Mm-hmm. He does have a genius for that.
And there's plenty of people, more people than not in this country, that eventually just explode privately, and or have a drink or get high or something, say, I got other things to do. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a few people that won't, and this was here was the exception to the usual rule. One thing I hope is that everybody tones it down a little, but that's not what's happening. Now it's just, let's persecute that. Let's persecute, starting with trans people, and then let's move it on to liberals. Let's move it on to the press. Yeah. Let's move it on to everybody that we don't like, and give Donald Trump all power.
So you have that straight. You can say anything bad you want about trans people. You can say anything bad you want about reporters. Mm-hmm. Like Charlie Kirk was the same.
We do.
What else? Anything else you want to bring up? We kind of skimmed over it. I want to conclude with, do we have enough time to just do one more thing? I want to conclude with the idea of a government shutdown. Do you think we're going to have one? Do you foresee it? I am so inured to, we're almost there, the deadline's September 30th, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Oh no, they got an agreement. So I don't even take it seriously anymore, and that's probably not smart. Do you foresee it happening? No,
I don't.
you don't even.
I
No,
don't.
you do.
But it feels like, reality show president, reality show government. It feels like, just the constant narrative. I agree with you. It's just constant narrative. It's the constant drama.
It's the like, oh, I got to see what's happening. We'll
Yeah.
grab my phone.
I think Trump
I do
wants
think
it,
the truth
so
is
I think
great.
it might happen. Because now he's
Trump is
saying,
just-
we're gonna shut down, it's gonna shut down, so I think that it's gonna.
He loves confrontation. He loves confrontation.
Not talking about Epstein.
So that he can blame it on liberals. It's just one more notch to blame.
It's true.
It's going to come down to which side thinks the other side has the better narrative. And I don't think the Republicans have any doubt that Donald Trump controls the narrative.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's right.
So there's Chuck Schumer's dilemma. If he agrees to a shutdown, Trump could win because he controls the narrative and it'll make it look like it's his fault. Yeah.
I can't believe people can't figure that out. Can't figure out how to counter that.
You're talking about the same people who put Trump in office. They're spending no time studying this stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. There should be an effective counter narrative here, and there is not. There hasn't been since the beginning of this administration. Because whenever the narrative starts to get effective, he changes the subject.
Yeah.
It does something else outrageous.
There is this salon, however, where we've had a very good narrative and spoken well for liberals. I hate the idea of the Democrats have to get out there with the idea of what they're for, not just what they're against. Isn't it obvious what we're for? Apparently not. We're for a military independent from the government, for separation of church and state. We're for the Constitution. We're definitely for free speech and free press. Is this so difficult?
Radical stuff.
I could do this.
Radical stuff.
Yeah, why isn't Hakeem Jeffries out there saying that? Kamala Harris or anybody, or Gavin Newsom, they're not. And Guilfoyle is the ambassador to Greece. I just want Bosnia. I would be happy with ambassador to Bosnia. That'd be cool. Thank you for coming. It's broadcast live, but I also use parts of it on my podcast. I hope you're listening to it. I've changed the name of it. It's now in Armao, Beyond the Brink and Fighting Back, because we're definitely not on the brink anymore. And I appreciate all your comments. And if you have other ideas, topics you'd like us to cover, or people you would like us to invite to debate or to agree with us, let us know.